Hi guys. So reading log 19 part 2 was only like a 4-page chapter. So I've decided to combine it with chapter 30 as well, so that this will average the other ones, and that will give us an easier 2 more days in the book, as opposed to like that last day being a 30-minute read or more. But before I start, he needs a name. I just painted him. I had him for years. My daughter actually got him. And I need a name for this guy. So, can you help girl out? Students, I'm letting you pick the name for my little gnome here. Okay. Chapter 29. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, or other trite nonsense. Sitting at the bottom of Zenos's father's hill, Aldemar did his calculations of exactly where I had to step to have the 7-league boots take me to Old Hag Mountain. The trouble was that a direct route was not visible by 7 leagues each step would take me. So I had to head off southwest to a certain point, then head due east. There was also a minor detour to avoid a step that would have landed me directly in someone's kitchen. Now, your reading log today, I want you to just write about what she sees on the way to the dragon's lair. Don't worry about that it doesn't make sense with Zenos's description. Just make what she sees and put it in sentence form. You know what? You don't even have to put it in sentence form. Just list it. Okay? That's not a physical problem, Aldemar told me. As you're moving, the boots pass through solid objects, which explained how in the previous game, Zenos had walked through the wall, but then was not seen by Penrod's men outside. Aldemar continued, but it would be unsettling to those seeing you. Out of fear, they might harm you. What if I land inside a tree? You can't. You would land on top of it. I'll try to keep you away from trees. We decided it would be best not to have the boots take me directly into the dragon's cave. If the creature was home, it might kill me before I even had a chance to get my bearings. This route will take you to a flattened area between the summit and the base of the mountain, Aldemar said. It should be climbable. Should be? Don't you love it? It was getting to be dusk, but I decided to start anyway. Once I got to the mountain, I could make up my mind if it would be better to continue up at night or wait there until morning. Dragons, Aldemar told me, were like cats, taking a lot of little naps throughout the day and night, so that no time was better than others to try to sneak up on it. I tucked the hat I had riddled for into the bag that held my evening meal and Oriel's potion, and I looped the bag over my belt. Good luck, Aldemar said. Remember to always walk straight in the direction you're facing. He already said that about 7 times. Don't try to take big strides. You just walk normally. Those boots will take care of themselves. That, he said, about 9 times. Will you be all right? I asked him. Okay, maybe I've asked him this also once or twice before, but I felt guilty for leaving him. I'll be fine, Aldemar assured me. So I took a deep breath and said, 7 leagues, and put my right foot forward. When I tried to make too big of a jump on Zenos's father's front walk, I felt as though a rubber band had yanked me back. Now, I felt like the rubber band itself. All stretched out with my vision a meaningless blur, and the awful rushing of air sounds so intense I was sure my eardrums were about to burst. I was tempted to bring that right foot back, canceling the 7-league step so I could try again later, but I knew it wasn't going to get any better. I moved my left foot forward. I found myself in a total different place from where I had just been. Instead on Zenos's father's hill, on an otherwise flat area bordered by woods, write this one down, this is your first one, I saw gently rolling hills coming down to an immense lake. So hills down into a huge lake. Thank you for not landing me in the lake, I thought to Aldermore. I took another step and found myself in yet another landscape, farm country with fields of barley and rutabaga. So you don't have to write barley or rutabaga. All I want you to do is a farmhouse. Write that down. That's your second one. With fields. Sorry, farmhouse with fields. And another time, this time landing in a rocky, desolate place. So third one is rocky, and desolate is DESOLATE place. That is DESOLATE place. That was where I was supposed to take a 90 degrees to the left to avoid the unpredictable kitchen. And I stepped onto a seashore. That's number 4, a seashore. Okay. Step after step I took until finally, as the sky turned dramatically pink, I found myself partway up what had to be Old Hag Mountain. Amazing! I had never believed that I would actually make it, and it would be so easy. I left a whole bunch of broken sticks so I would be sure, if I survived the encounter of the dragon, to be able to start my return trip from this exact right spot. Next, was climbing up. It should be climbable? Yeah, right. I had to find handholds and toe holds and trust my life to an anemic tree that didn't have the sense to grow out of the horizontal ground. This would have been a lot easier. This would have been a lot. This would have been a lot easier, I told myself, as my arms began to ache, if I was stronger, which was when I remembered Oriel's potion. 1 hour of being as strong as Abbess, followed by 2 as being as weak as Dusty and her arthritic worst. Should I take it now? I looked up at the remainder of the way I had to go. It was getting dark, so I wasn't able to see clearly. I thought that if I was stronger, I could make it up in less than an hour if I didn't fall off the mountain first from not being able to see. But what then? Then, with night coming on, I would have to find my way into the lair, avoid the dragon, locate the crown, and hope that my 2 hours of total helplessness didn't strike while I was still in there. It was the same thing I would have to do if I waited until morning, but my chances had to be better if I could see what I was doing. I found a cozy little crack in the stone, and I settled in for the night. Hoping the catacomb ghost wouldn't think it would be a good joke to roll me out and over the side while I slept. And then thinking about the ghosts, I suddenly realized I had no sensation of them around me. They weren't able to keep up with my 7-league boots. I thought. They were probably still back at Zenos's father's house, riding down that slide. Double hop! I ate my meal of bread and cheese and cold mutton with an apple tart the castle cook had packed for dessert. For drink, I had warm water from a clay jar. I was happy for the tart, but a double cheese pizza and a milkshake would have been even nicer. I heard the dragon several times during the night, moving about, snoring occasionally, once even singing. At least I think it was singing. It was in its dragon language. To me, it sounded like a recording of a cough played backward on slow speed. Once it got to be light, my third day in this adventure, my, how the time flies when you're having fun. I ate the last of my bread and drank almost all of my water, saving a bit for just in case. I started climbing back up that mountain, but it wasn't any easier today than it had been last night. When I almost fell because my fingers cramped, I realized it was time to try Oriel's potion. Pressing myself onto a ledge big enough for about half of 1 foot, I got out the vial, took out the stopper, and downed the whole thing in one excruciating gulp. Not one of her best taking potions, had Oriel said. Imagine this, a 95-degree hot August day and a construction worker slaving on the asphalt, on the melting asphalt. Then imagine licking toothpaste out of his armpit. But a moment later, the awful taste didn't matter. I had a hot flash that caused a tremor in the leg on which I was balancing all of my weight. In another moment, that was gone, leaving a warm, tingly glow all over. From toes to fingertips, that and the foul taste in my mouth. I reached for a handheld and pulled myself up as easily as an Olympic gymnastic doing a chin-up. Up, up, and up I went, so easily that I asked myself, why hadn't I taken the potion earlier? Then I remembered why. For I had come right below the ledge of the opening of the cave where Aldermore's scrying glass showed the dragon lived. When I was securely positioned, I got out the hat so that I could slap it on my head at a moment's notice. I held it in my teeth so that I wouldn't accidentally brush off as I swung myself up onto the ledge. And then I did swing myself up onto the ledge. There, close enough to spit, if I had been a barbarian and inclined to spit, was the dragon. Now, open up the next reading log word, and you can start to describe the dragon's lair if you need to, okay? Chapter 30, titled Dead Oxen and Gold. Adriana and Rawdon had been right. The dragon was enormous. Even though I had been prepared for its size to stun me, its size still stunned me. The creature had its head on its paws and its eyes were closed, which meant that it was either sleeping or trying to lull me into believing that it was sleeping, at which point it would jump on me and either eat me in one quick swallow, at least I could only hope it was one, or incinerate me, or squeeze the life out of me. I fought the inclination to 7-league my way straight out of there. I fought the inclination to slap on Zenus's magic hat on my head and make time stop moving for the dragon. I knew both inclinations were stupid. After determining that I had to get the crown and struggling my way up that mountainside, what would running accomplish? If I didn't succeed in this, I would stay hooked up to Rasmussen's computer equipment until my brain fried. That made getting fried by a dragon look slightly Well, not better, just less bad. And what if I put the hat on while the dragon was asleep? Wouldn't that waste its power? Anyway, why would the dragon pretend to sleep? If he saw me, wouldn't it simply kill me right away? Except I remembered Aldemar explaining how dragons nap like cats. What if, like cats, they also played with their prey? But could the dragon have kept a straight face if it saw me, a girl dressed in page clothes, walking on the tips of my toes, looking as though I was about to eat a ski cap? I wondered if dragons shot flames out of their mouths when they laughed. And the dragon didn't twitch. Scattered around this area were various bones. There was a gnawed-on ox over to one side, which explained that awful smell was not entirely dragon's bad breath. But not all the bones were animals. Some still had scraps of clothing attached. I kept on moving. There was a second, bigger cave beyond, and I could see the glitter of gold. Luckily, there was room to circle behind the dragon without having to climb onto it. I nervously kept my attention on the cat creature's eyelids until I realized I was endangering myself by walking backward. I could easily trip or knock something over, and the noise would surely awaken the catnapper. So I turned my full attention to the piles of treasure. The piles and piles of treasure. No. The piles and piles and piles of treasure. How could I ever find one crown amid all that glittering hoard? I started piling through mounds of gold. There were coins, there was jewelry, there were boxes, baskets, combs, and plaques. There were eating utensils, musical instruments, tools, toys, knick-knacks, figurines, and a bigger-than-life golden Greek statue. I could tell he was Greek because he didn't have any clothes on, the way Greek statues never do. There was even a pair of robes woven entirely of spun gold. But where was there a barbarian crown? Not that I could see. I started unloading one of the overflowing treasure chests. There were about 7 or 8 of them, probably more buried in that one corner where the gold was piled to within the inch of the cave's ceiling. It can't be there, I tried to convince myself. That pile has been accumulating for generations, and King Cedric gave the dragon the crown only 8 years ago. Unless, of course, the dragon had been moving things around, shifting stuff from one pile to another, handling the gold while gloating over it. But why bother amassing gold if you aren't going to gloat over it? Maybe the crown had been buried. No, I told myself. This was a crown that could turn things into gold. Surely that would gain it a very special place. At least, not a place on the bottom of a pile. I was putting things from the chest onto the floor so that I could get to the bottom, and there, finally, beneath a golden serving tray, was the crown. Oh, oops. No, wait, wrong crown. During our lunch, King Grimbold had described his people's crown, and this wasn't it. Maybe over the passage of years, since his father had lost the thing, maybe Grimbold hadn't remembered correctly. Yeah, not likely, I knew. I set the crown on the head of a waist-high statue of a monkey. If I couldn't find the right crown, maybe Grimbold would be appeased with this one, along with whatever trinkets I could stuff into my now empty provision bag. And Adriana, I very much hoped I could give away Queen Adriana. My teeth were sore from holding the hat for so long, so I took it out to work my jaw out. A watch would have been nice about now to know how long I had taken Oriel's potion. My guess was about a half an hour. I wondered if I'd have any warning, any sense of weakening. Would I just keel over? I went to put the hat back in my mouth and somehow brushed against the golden monkey statue. The thing must be hollow because it wobbled. I grabbed it just in time to keep it from going over, but the crown fell off its head. A golden crown hitting a cave floor doesn't make that much sound, but it's enough. The dragon was awake and on its feet in less time than it took me to glance in its direction. For a moment, as I crouched beside the chest with the monkey statue between us, the dragon couldn't see me. But I could see it. I could see its nostrils dilating as it sniffed. It took a step toward me, its massive belly dragging on the floor. For a creature, sniff. For a creature that slept next to an ox carcass that was at least a couple days old, surely it couldn't have developed a well-developed sense of smell. Another step, and then its huge head swiveled, and it was looking directly at me. I jammed the hat on my head, pulling it so low and stretched beyond my earlobes. I felt no change, but the dragon wasn't moving. Was he? I peeked an eye open. I peeked an eye open. No, the dragon wasn't moving. Slowly, I got to my feet. I moved cautiously to the left. Its glittering eyes did not follow me. I started breathing again, and then I started counting. 1 Rasmussen Enterprises, 2 Rasmussen Enterprises, 3, and I kept on counting as I hurled golden objects out of the chest, no longer needing to be quiet. At 15 Rasmussen Enterprises, I got to the bottom of the chest, and there was no other crown. I moved to another chest, and that took me to 60 Rasmussen Enterprises, with no sign of a crown. 4 minutes left because I hadn't started right away. 300 Rasmussen Enterprises was looming closer. I kicked a heap of gold sitting on the floor, scattering golden coins. A crown rolled out. I snatched it up and then threw it down in frustration. Still not the right one. The next chest was a big one with clumsily shaped heavy objects that I had to lift out one by one, but it took me to 144 Rasmussen Enterprises to find that there was no barbarian crown in there. There was a chest about the size of a 2-drawer filing cabinet on its side, which added strength coupled with the adrenaline of desperation. I held it upside down, scattering its contents on the floor. I threw the chest behind me and lunged for the crown I had glimpsed, but it was the same one that had fallen off the golden monkey statue before. 167 Rasmussen Enterprises, and I was already looking twice in the same place. Ignoring the other chests, I began pawing through the huge pile, convinced the crown had to be in the single hardest place to get. 214 Rasmussen Enterprises, 25 Rasmussen Enterprises, 237 Rasmussen Enterprises. I kicked the Greek hero in frustration and glanced back at the dragon. Not moving yet, but it will be soon. How many Rasmussen Enterprises had I lost while shivering under the unseen gaze of the time-stopped dragon? 5 or 6? And what was the matter with me? I should have known better than to think of other numbers while I was trying to count. Had I actually counted to 245 Rasmussen Enterprises, or had I skipped numbers because I had been thinking of the number 5? I don't actually remember saying 42, 43, or 44 Rasmussen Enterprises, but maybe I had, and meanwhile, trying to figure it all out, I had just lost more time. Where was I? Oh, never mind. I gave up counting entirely. Once again, I looked at the dragon. I had to get out of here. Save myself now. Try to come back later, which was with a better plan. Yeah, right, Gianine. If I was able to thinking up a better plan, I wouldn't be here now. That wasn't the same as being willing to let the dragon lunge on me. I ran past the huge beast, back out onto the ledge to the very edge overlooking the steep cliff with hand toe holes. I was going to have to race down there with my strength about to give out probably a few minutes after the hat spell gave out, with a dragon sniffing after me. The other choice was to hang around and wait for the dragon to gnaw on me like it had been gnawing on that ox. I saw the gashes on the stone from the dragon's talons, and I also saw 2 globs of gold on the ledge, and realized what the dragon had done with its Midas touch. It had tried to turn the whole old Hag Mountain into gold, but instead, it had only gotten 2 golden rocks. No doubt, it was pretty ticked off about that. I turned back to meet my fate. The dragon was in the inner cave, facing the way it had been when, from its perspective, I had disappeared. But now that I was on the ledge facing this direction, I saw what I haven't seen before. The crown. Out here. The dragon had been sleeping with it, tucked safely into the crook of its elbow, like a kid with a teddy bear. I dove for the crown just as the dragon turned. A blast of flame fizzled in the air at my back. I grabbed up the crown like an oversized bangle bracelet on my arm and looked over the nearest edge, which wasn't even the way I had come up. How could I ever make it down to the flat ground with the dragon so close behind? Even now I could hear the grate of its scales as it heaved its massive body back onto the ledge. Without even turning back, I said, 7 leagues, and I stepped forward, though the ground was a mountain's height below me, hoping the boots worked in thin air. So just give me 3 sentences about the dragon's lair for reading log 20.